we're going to go ahead and get started today. We appreciate everybody that's joined us thus far. Jumping in today, we're going to be hosted by a few Jolt team members as well as someone from the Chick-fil-A family. So my name is Spencer Mortensen. I'm the account manager for Chick-fil-A. And then Pete.
Thank you, Spencer. My name is Pete Cavanaugh, and I'm the Regional Vice President of Sales with Jolt. And I want to welcome all of you to this latest session of our ongoing series of webinars to the Chick-fil-A family. We're extremely grateful for you taking time with us today. Our focus today is on how Jolt Solutions can help your operations, just as we have done for over 1,500 other Chick-fil-A locations. Moreover, we felt it was very important for you to hear from one of your own about Jolt by having Paul Day, who is Vice President of Operations at Chick-fil-A at Franklin Avenue and Chick-fil-A Richland Mall, Texas, share his experience and benefits he has realized with Jolt Solutions. So welcome, Paul. We really appreciate your participation with us. And we would love for you to share more information about yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. Again, my name is Paul Day, and I've been with Jake Roy at the Chick-fil-A's here in Waco, Texas, on Franklin Avenue and inside Richland Mall. I've been here for about 4 years. I worked my way up from team member to HR director, now VP of Operations, Jake's right-hand man, helping him out in a variety of ways. We've been with Jolt, or you've been using Jolt for about 5 years. It's been a great experience learning, and looking forward to getting to share about that today.
Thanks so much, Paul. We really appreciate you being here with us today. And just as a reminder, everybody attending today, that the webinar is being recorded currently, and we will distribute that out afterwards as well, too. And then lastly, just one more housekeeping item. We really encourage you to submit questions throughout the presentation as we go through the modules today. If a question comes up, please just use that Q&A feature on the Zoom meeting and put it in, and we'll get to it at the end. Thank you. So as for agenda today, we're going to look at 3 different modules currently offered to the Chick-fil-A family. So Jolt Digital Checklist, Jolt Labeling Solution, and Jolt Sensors, as well as, like mentioned, we will end with some question and answer towards the end. So Jolt has more modules than we'll look at today. You can see right here that there are 6 different modules we currently offer. We will be reviewing these on later series. If you are interested beforehand, please feel free to visit our website and reach out to us afterwards as well. But today we're going to start with the list module and go through this, and then we'll labeling and sensors. So diving into the list module currently offered to Chick-fil-A, before we actually want to look at the product, we just want to touch base on what you're going to really benefit from as you move over from paper to a digital platform, specifically Jolt. So right now, whether you're using laminated sheets, just regular binder, some paper, something you wrote down, or maybe some Google Forms, you really are lacking certain visibility and accountability portions in there, as well as there has been some bottlenecks that we've noticed that have taken place on paper. And most importantly, at the end of the day, unless you're hovering over the employee, it's really hard to know whether they're pencil whipping or taking shortcuts. As with Jolt, and in the 1,500 locations from Chick-fil-A, you can get that accuracy. You can make sure your food safety is 100%. You can get that visibility. When things get missed and things get lost throughout the day, you can really know what's going on. And more importantly, overall, make sure your staff really is being productive, and that compliance factor is always there as well. So giving you a snapshot of what the platform looks like, Jolt is based on an iOS and Android devices. So that means you can download it on an iPad, Android tablet. You can also have it on your new iPhone XR. You can have it on your Google Pixel, you name it. You're given unlimited downloads, so you can have it on as many devices you would like inside of your location. So Jolt is also a native app, which means it's built for offline. So for example, if your Wi-Fi goes out, because obviously Wi-Fi is never faulty at any restaurant. That's my one joke for the presentation, because we know the Wi-Fi is great. Anyways, as the Wi-Fi goes out, the app will still perform 100%. And then you'll be able to continue on with your daily tasks. And then as it connects back to the Wi-Fi, it'll automatically upload all this data into the cloud in real time. So discussing key specific features that are very beneficial for the Chick-fil-A brand, is one, more and more importantly, you can see as the team member completes a task, it's going to give you the name, date, and time when they complete that task in real time, so you know who did it and when they did it. You can also add functionality like photo taking options. You can add QR codes, multiple selections, open text box. There's 18 different versions. Some quick examples that is really popular in the Chick-fil-A community is, putting a QR code on a dumpster. So your employee walks out, scans the QR code, and throws away the trash, so you know that they actually walked out and threw away the trash. As well as those photo taking options to make sure that when they say the dining room is clean, or the restroom, more importantly, that you can have them take a snapshot in real time that the restroom is clean and up to par to the brand consistency standards. And then lastly, overall, to increase that speed of use is that text message and email notifications for your staff. So you can set up multiple different notifications for what are most important to you inside of your location. So at the end of the day, your GM could get an email breaking down what was missed, what wasn't missed, what was complete, what are you doing well. So you can really get those actionable items that are taking place. And I think this is a great time to highlight our new reporting feature enhancement. Transitioning from that email to those reports, this can be viewed on the iPad as well as your iPhone, and as well as any kind of PC and laptop as well too. You can get in here, and this is where these actionable items are going to take place. So, your kitchen director, your director of operations, your training director, all of them can really hone down and focus on what is most important and what's being missed, and how can we how can we elevate the staff to the next level of accountability across our location. So looking at some of the benefits and the return on investment you get from our list functionality is going to be that improved teamwork. You're also going to see, over 10 hours of managers' time saved on average of not having to follow up with tasks, go redo tasks that were never done, and overall as well to increase those food safety checks across the location.
And Paul Day, I am sure our audience would love to hear what benefits your locations have seen from utilizing the Jolt List solution.
Yeah, Jolt List was one of the main things main factors in deciding to go with Jolt because it does help in a lot of different ways. We use them for our cleaning and maintenance lists, documentations, food safety checks. The reporting functionality is really good because you can go in and see afterwards the temperatures, for example. So somebody calls in and says that they got sick because their chicken wasn't cooked to the proper temperature or whatever the case may be. You can go back and give that report to your health inspector. So that's been really helpful. When I think about the cleaning and maintenance list that we have and all the different equipment we have, and there's some things that need to be done weekly or monthly or quarterly or semi-annually or annually, and all the complexity. Chick-fil-A does have high standards, and frankly, we weren't meeting them before we used the Jolt list, just because we had a paper list and we had to keep track of who did what and when. And if somebody said they did something, we'd still have to go and follow up with it. Well, this has helped us a lot because, like, let's say it says that you need to replace the tune-up kit for the ice cream machine, and so you have to take a picture of that. Well, if they take a picture of something else in the store, then we know that they didn't do it correctly. Maybe they don't know how to do it, and you can go and retrain them. Another example is like with fire extinguisher inspections. We have them take pictures of the tags before and after the inspection is done, so that we know, oh, hey, this tag actually needed to be inspected, or this one didn't need to be inspected. And so we've been able to save money that way, and making sure that we're getting all those things done ahead of time. It's also helped a lot with documentations. Let's say we had to terminate a team member because they got a certain number of demerits. According to our policy, they need to be terminated. And then they go and apply for unemployment benefits, and the workers' comp, Texas Workforce Commission calls and says, hey, you need to pay, your tax rate's going up because of this. Team member, we can just download a report and send it off to them. It's pretty easy for us to make sure that we have our ducks in a row, so that we have the documentation we need for everything HR. Another thing I really like about the list is the flexibility. There's a lot of things that you can use for lists, but Jolt really gives you the ability to create it, to make it work for your store. So for example, if something needs to be done monthly, you could put one really long monthly list. Well, what we do instead is we have a weekly list, or I'm sorry, weekly list. You could have one really long weekly list. We do a Monday list, Tuesday list, Wednesday list, Thursday list. But if you'd rather have one long weekly list, then you can do that, because Jolt gives you the flexibility to do that. So it's been really helpful for us to be able to stay on top of the team and make sure that we communicate to the team exactly what they need to do that we're expecting them to do. So it's been great. We really love the Jolt list functionality.
Thanks, Paul. And what kind of feedback, have you received from your team members that use the product for this list solution?
Yeah, so our team members, we actually give access to our team members to use Jolt on their phones. That way they can quickly and easily, like you have multiple people using the one particular list at a time, and they can all be updating it. And so it really cuts down on the amount of time it takes to do a lot of those lists. They don't like getting written up, that's for sure. The documentations, they don't enjoy that, but it does make it easier for us to get them documented. So yeah, everybody is on their phone anyways, so they know how to use their phone, and they're able to go in there. We also use it for training lists, and so we give them a 30-day list that they have to complete in order to get their first raise, go from trainee to team member. And we have a certain list, certain items they need to go and find somebody. Hey, teach me how to make lemonade, or go teach me how to make a milkshake, or so they have ownership of their own training list, and it's been really helpful. So we get a lot of good feedback from our team members.
Okay, thanks, Paul. That's great. Appreciate it.
So jumping on to the next module, before we do, just want to remind everybody, with Paul's words, and as you saw some of the different slides on the list module, please submit questions if they come up, and we will get to those at the end. So just a reminder of that. But jumping into the labeling module, we are connected to integrate with the ZD Fordhand printer. So as you move over from day dots, one most important things you're going to get here is that 100% accuracy. So no more handwriting those different labels and trying to read them, or missing different kind of labels. As well too, when you come on board with Jolt, you're going to get all the standard Chick-fil-A labels that are going to be imported in, so you don't have to go in and do any other work besides hooking up the printer to the iPad, and then you can go and begin printing. And one really cool feature to highlight that came out is our integration with lists. So a few scenarios here is, like Paul mentioned earlier, if you're going through and doing your daily checklist, and one of the tasks is check to make sure all the product is labeled, or you're in the freezer and you notice something's not labeled correctly, you can just get on here and you can actually print a label from your phone, from any kind of device, or from the checklist itself. So you can see the little label icon right there. So when you walk past the labeler or someone sees it, they can just grab the label and go stick it on where it needs to be. So, taking a step back and asking yourself how often that happens, as well as, it's meant to drive that brand consistency through the location and just make everybody, make it easier to use and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So benefits and ROI of the labeling solution, one to point out really easily is the per label cost. So Jolt, we have 0.003 cost per label. So what that means is you get 3 labels for every penny. So if you add that up, it's about $9 for 3,000 labels. And on average, usually if you buy a box of day dots or a few other labels, you usually spend about $20 to $30 for 1,000 labels, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you're looking for a really easy way to justify this cost to your operator or yourself, here is a really good one you can point towards. And then as well as the minutes it's going to save to actually handwrite those labels, and then just more importantly overall, the hours it takes to write those labels, and deal with making sure everything's labeled throughout the day.
So Paul, where have you seen the benefits for your operations with the Jolt labeling solution?
Yeah, Jolt Labels has been really, really helpful for us. Before, we were like many Chick-fil-A's using the day dots, handwritten stickers, and to be quite honest, that with the expectations that we have for our stores, you have to have a label on the lid and the container, and it needs to have certain information on it, the product, the expiration date, the initials, all of those things. The amount of time that it takes to do that and do it correctly was more than our team could handle. So either if you're doing day dots like that, you're either spending a lot of time doing it or you're just not meeting the standard. And to be just completely honest and vulnerable here in this setting, we weren't doing it very well. We were missing that a lot. And when you get into StairTech, food safety inspections or health inspections, it's embarrassing to not have those things done correctly. And so with Jolt labels, we're able to cut out the difficulty of labeling, especially if you have to do 2 different labels. So yeah, it's been very helpful because we've been able to do much better on our StairTech inspections or food safety inspections. We used to miss this point a lot, but we hardly ever miss it anymore. So it's been really helpful for that. Also, it's helpful because we're able to do the math once for everything in the store, like the whole time on chocolate syrup versus shredded cheese versus thawed chicken. We're able to do that math once, like when we get the brownies. And just recently, we were able to create a label for that, do the math once for what the expiration date is, put exactly what we want on the label, and the team starts labeling it without missing a beat. So it's been a huge help to be able to use that, the Jolt labeling.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Good input.
And so the last module we're going to look at today is the sensor module. And just again, as a reminder, any questions that came up about the labeling solution, please submit those. We'll get to those to the end. So diving into the sensor capability and module for Jolt, how it works is we're going to actually put a sensor inside of the unit. And what I mean by unit, that could be a dishwasher, that could be a walk-in freezer, that could be one of your coolers, a refrigerator, a reach-in, display case, you name it. And then it's going to report to a gateway, and that gateway is going to report to the cloud, and that cloud reports to obviously Jolt. So it's really straightforward what this is going to do for you. It's going to monitor that temperature. So if there's ever an issue with the fridge or freezer getting out of temp where it needs to be, you're going to get a text message and email notification letting you know so that inventory is not lost. One really cool feature to highlight is the sensors and lists integration. So jumping back to the checklist that's been discussed a lot today, if I'm going through and doing an opening checklist, closing checklist, any kind of maintenance checklist, you name it, and one of the tasks on there is to check the temperature, you can just click on the sensor button and it'll automatically import the last temperature reading from the sensor into the checklist. So the sensors read every 10 minutes. So you'll get that real life feed of what's going on inside of your coolers across your locations and inside the specific unit. So the benefits and ROI on this at the end of the day is that peace of mind. So I would just ask yourself to take a step back and ask yourself, how often do you feel that your units are going out or having issues or a close call? Is that every 2 months, 6 months, a year? It just takes that one time where the freezer goes out and the $5,000 are lost, and it would have been, it would have paid for itself 250 times over with the Jolt sensors. So jumping on to the integration part with Jolt has a powerful integration with CFA Home. So just diving into a little bit detail about this, when you come on board with Jolt, or if you're already currently with Jolt, all you have to do is connect it to CFA Home with the integration. It's automatically going to import all of your people from that location, as well as if you ever terminate an employee, it'll automatically take them out. So it takes a lot of the admin work off your shoulders. And I guess I'm curious, Paul, how has this benefited you and kind of the admin side of keeping everything up to date with us?
Yeah, so we've been using Jolt for 5 years. Like I said, we started before integration was a thing, and since it has become part of the package, it's been huge. It's been a huge help. I mean, there are a couple of other apps that we load for our team. But anytime you can make a change in HR payroll and then it automatically changes in any of those platforms is a huge help. And so for Jolt, for example, it's linked to not just their name and their phone number and their email address. And as soon as I load them in HR payroll, it'll sync over. It does every 24 hours. It syncs around 2 a.m. And so I can load somebody in today, and then they can get an invitation to Jolt tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. And then they can download the app, get signed up, change their password, all before they come to orientation. And that way, when they come to orientation, we're not wasting time teaching them how to download the app or find the app. All we have to do is teach them how to use the app. And so it's a huge help. Likewise, if somebody's phone number changes, their email will change, you just have to change it in HR payroll, and it changes it in Jolt the next time it syncs over. I should mention that you can force a sync, and you can also call customer service to help sync things over. So it's a huge help. The last thing I would say about integration is that the amount of time that we have to spend on administrative things is increasing all the time. And so anytime you can decrease some of that, it is helpful. And so likewise, if when you're promoting somebody, their job title changes, you change their job in HR payroll, you can set it up so that it automatically gives them certain permissions in Jolt. So if somebody promotes or demotes, all those changes happen seamlessly. It takes a lot of the guesswork of thinking out of that. That's huge help for sure.
Great. Thanks, Paul. And learn something new every day. I didn't know it was sync at 2 a.m. every day. So hopefully you're not working too late, but I'm glad we're doing our job on that part.
Yeah, for sure.
The last slide we want to touch on is the customer success and support of Jolt. So when you come on board with Jolt, as well as you stay with us throughout the 5 years Paul has been with us, you get a dedicated customer success manager to help you through implementation, to make sure everything is set up properly, to make sure team members are trained, make sure the integration is hooked up, any hardware is configured correctly. As well as a second line of defense with Jolt, we have an in-house tech support. So if you ever have any questions or more of a technical question, you can always reach out to us via phone or email, and we'll get back to you at a prompt time to be able to resolve any issues or concerns you may have.
And Paul, would you mind sharing your experiences with Jolt support?
Yes, I mean, this is one of the. I'm big on customer service, and we at Chick-fil-A we have a culture of customer service and guests first, and Jolt definitely has that also. We've had, and they say a dedicated restaurant consultant. We've had 2 different ones over the course of the last 5 years, so it's not like it's going to change every week or every month. That doesn't seem dedicated. The dedicated ones, they're the 2 that we've had have been awesome. I can call, chat, text them anytime, and they get back with me within their work hours, and it's been a huge help to really get in there and see, am I using this effectively? Is there something I could do to be more efficient with it? Likewise, like before I said, we started before there was integration, and whenever we integrated, it brought over all the team members and duplicated everybody. And rather than me having to go through and sort through who was the HR payroll synced versus the one that I had before, my Jolt restaurant consultant went through and did all that legwork for me, and I wasn't expecting that, but they did, and it was a huge help. So it's been really nice. They even had like a personal touch. So my first restaurant consultant, I had to miss a meeting with her because my wife had a baby, and she found out that we were had a baby, and that's the reason I had to miss the meeting. So she sent me a onesie that had a Jolt logo on it. So I mean, really, not everybody's going to do that. I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't even expect that out of my current restaurant consultant. But just that personal touch has been really, really nice to have from my Jolt consultant, and it's the customer service at Jolt has been great.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it just echo what Pete just said. Thanks, Paul. We're gonna jump into the Q&A, but just before we jump into the Q&A, just really wanted to thank you for coming today and really speaking to the experience you've had with us thus far, and some of the different products you're using with us. So again, really appreciate you being willing to spend some time with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm really glad to help out. It's been a great platform for us to use. So anything I can do to help is great.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're going to jump into the Q&A time today. So I know we've had a few questions submitted. Britton from Joel, our QA manager, is going to take it from here and read it off to them, and we'll do our best to answer them for you today.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. So the first question was, can we utilize lists that other Chick-fil-A's have created, or do we have to create all of our own?
Great question. So it's twofold. One, when you come on board, we're going to give you a standard template that other franchisees have shared with us, as well as those corporate checklists. So no, the last thing you'll have to do is start from scratch. We'll provide you some really, really good lists to start with. And to Paul's point earlier, one really big benefit is that you can customize them to your location. So after they're implemented in, if you want to go through and say, I want to add a task here or there, I need to change this, you have all access to that and you're welcome to do. But yeah, the last thing we want to do is reinvent the wheel. We'll definitely help you get, if not 90%, all the way 100% there.
I'd like to jump in there too, if you don't mind, Spencer, on this question. Whenever we first, it was hard to think about what we did initially when we set up Jolt, but I was able to get an Excel spreadsheet of the cleaning and maintenance list from other stores, and then you can actually upload the Excel spreadsheet into Jolt. So I was able to customize it in whatever order I wanted, and what I want to be a short answer versus a long answer versus a number input versus a picture, and I'm able to put that in an Excel spreadsheet and put it all in order, and then upload it all at once rather than have to do all the typing each individual item. Once the list is in there, I just edit it from there, and I add things or remove things or reorganize it. But that initial setup was so easy because I was able to get a list from another restaurant that Madison, my restaurant consultant, was able to send me in an Excel spreadsheet form. And I'm an Excel guy, so I was able to rearrange it and make it what I want, and then upload it all at once. It was very easy to do.
Great thought, Paul. Yeah, we're past those archaic days of Excel. I'm just kidding. But we if you're not an Excel expert, we already have those standard ones. But yeah, that's a great point. Britton, go ahead.
Okay, next question. Do you have to manually input the math for the labels for every product, or does it have CFA product data?
Great question. So Paul, feel free to jump in on here as this as well too. So there is CFA data already put in there, but what you're referring to is our prep sheet list. So you can actually go in on the daily or weekly and input it for the week, and then it'll sync up for the week and give you the numbers you need to print off on there. So you can either do it by week or daily, but we will give you, as you start off, we will do the beginning numbers for you.
And if this question is specifically asking about labels with expiration dates for different products, I'm sure, Spencer, you can talk to this. I'm sure you could copy ours over to any store that they wanted, that we don't have to do all the legwork to begin with. But I think whenever, like for example, when brownies came out, we just, whatever the expiration date, we put that in there and create our own label. But initially, you could probably, I would assume, copy it from another store. And I'd be glad to share ours with any Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, and great point, Paul. If you're just talking about the expiration dates for each individual item, that already comes preloaded in. So you don't have to do any of the math yourself at all. That's already standard. And to Paul's point, if there's a new label that comes out and someone sends it to us, we can get that updated so that it's updated for everybody. So yeah, again, all that legwork will be taken off of you. Great question. Britton, what else?
Okay, so the next question, this person is opening their restaurant in April of 2021. They say Jolt sounds great, but they would love to set up their list before the restaurant opens. Is there a way I could activate my Jolt account but not begin using the actual list in the restaurant until about 2 weeks before opening?
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah. So I work very closely with the GOSs and IMs and those teams. So I'm sure they're familiar with some of the stuff we've done with them in the past. But yeah, you're welcome to contact me. My information will be here at the end of the presentation in March. And if you want to set your account up a few weeks early, you're more than welcome to do that. We can walk through that process. Takes about 15 minutes. And we can preload all those in for you, and you can make sure everything's dialed in. My recommendation on that is, with the interview process and everything else you have to do, you're as busy as ever before in your life the first 2 weeks before it opens, what I've noticed. So I usually recommend getting Jolt squared away about 2, maybe 3 weeks before your open date.
Awesome. Thank you. 2 more quick questions here. Can you take care of scheduling through the app?
Yeah, great question. So we didn't go over scheduling today. If you want to go over the scheduling product, you can reach out to me separately and we can do more of a deep dive on that. I'm sure we'll cover it in future webinars, but just as a quick response to that, yes, scheduling, you're able to view the scheduling on the app. You're able to view shift trades as well as request time off. Swap shifts is all done on the app, but creating the schedule itself will be done on a PC version on the back end, and then that transitions to the app.
Okay, perfect. And last, just wondering the individual sensor costs.
Great question. So we have a few different providers of our sensors. So we have Bluetooth technology. We also have LoRa sensors as well too. So one is more long range, one's more short range. So you have a ballpark range of $20 a sensor all the way up to $80 a sensor, depending on the version that you want to get. And then you also have a gateway, like I mentioned. And again, the gateways will be arranged in that pricing 0-2, just depending on the model and the range that you want to get.
And then the last question here, just wondering what's the biggest difference between labeling with Jolt and other solutions currently offered for Chick-fil-A?
Great question. I'm getting this one quite a few times. So I would say these are the 3 biggest differences if you want to get your pen out and write them down. Number 1 is going to be that hard label cost. At the end of the day, you want to look at your P&Ls for the year or every quarter. Our labels, again, are the 0.003. So you're going to get 3 labels for a penny, and you're going to get about 3,000 labels for $9. So you just ask yourself, on average, a Chick-fil-A, prints 450 labels throughout the week, and then you add that up throughout the year. That label cost will be substantial. So Jolt is the cheapest option on the labels. Number 2 is the customer support and success. So, you also have to ask yourself, as you go through using the product 6 months into it, year, 2 years into it, what kind of support am I going to get? Because hardware is always growing and getting better. You are going to have access to that dedicated rep that Paul mentioned earlier, as well as that tech support that, when you're in a bind and you need stuff labeled and you're taking care of customers, the last thing you need to worry about is getting stuck online for 10 hours with someone or not getting something resolved. As you reach out to us, via phone and email, we have that in-house support that we can get it diagnosed and taken care of and get back to you promptly. And then the last one, the third one, is going to be that integration with the list feature. So as the labeling is integrated with that, you think about some of your standard current labeling machines that kind of sit in the corner and they don't even get touched unless you walk over to there. As with the flexibility of Jolt and the consistency as you're walking through the freezer and you see something needs to be labeled, you can get out your phone and print it off. So then when someone walks past the label, they see, oh, I need to go label these because someone printed them off. So it increases that teamwork and just brings that consistency across the location. I would say those are probably the 3 biggest differentiators that really sets us apart from any other labeling solution out there. Britton, there's no more. If there's no more today, we really appreciate everybody's time today coming out and listening to us. Here's my contact information. Feel free to take a picture of this as well. Reach out to me via email or phone number if you have any questions at all. And here's our sales line as well too. But as well, we will be distributing this to all of you folks afterwards. It was recorded, so we'll send this out so you can listen to us talk again if you want to. We appreciate you joining today.